Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, excessive heat has California's power grid operators urging folks to conserve energy. And a weekend prank in Balboa Park caused $10,000 in damages and may lead to criminal charges.
And at the roundtable, a 6,000-mile caravan to end Mexico's brutal drug war begins. And a 24-year lease between Dole Fresh Fruit Company and the Port of San Diego has some going bananas.
And the Department of Defense reports 3 Marines killed Friday in Afghanistan were based at Camp Pendleton. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dwayne Brown. The Department of Defense says all 3 Marines killed by an Afghan police officer Friday were from Camp Pendleton. Captain Matthew Manikian was from Los Altos Hills in the Bay Area. Staff Sergeant Sky Moat was from El Dorado in Central California. And Gunnery Sergeant Ryan Jeske was from Herndon, Virginia. All 3 were assigned to the Special Operations Battalion at Camp Pendleton. An Afghan police officer reportedly shot the Marines after inviting them to a pre-dawn meal. A Taliban spokesman told the Associated Press the shooter was a member of Helmand Police who had been working with U.S. service members. The military is investigating the murders. Balboa Park is recovering after a water gun fight Saturday night got out of hand. It was promoted on social media and left the park's beloved lily pond trashed. KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr joins us from the news center. So what happened to the pond, Katie, and who's responsible?
Dwayne, the Parks Department estimates nearly $10,000 worth of damage was done to the lily pond, and that includes broken flower boxes, a broken drainage pipe, and trampled flowers and landscaping. The Parks Department tells me no fish or turtles were killed during the party, though some fish are still being monitored. Today, the pond was largely cleaned up, and people who love the park are donating money to help pay for the repairs. There was a Facebook page that invited people to this event. There are 9 people listed as organizers, and police are currently investigating.
Well, it apparently happened late at night. Why didn't anyone stop this?
Well, the San Diego police say they didn't receive any calls for service from the park Saturday night. While they usually patrol the area, they say they were very busy downtown that night. The police had heard about the event, but a similar gathering last year didn't cause any trouble, so they really weren't worried about it. The park rangers don't patrol that late, and while there is private security in the park, they have about 1,100 to 1,200 acres to watch over, so park officials say they probably were just in a different area of the park at that time.
KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr. Now, in response to the vandalism, Mayor Jerry Sanders said in this statement, "Like every San Diegan, I am appalled by the complete disregard for our iconic park by these delinquents. The damage they did to the century-old lily pond and the mess they left behind is unacceptable. We will hold those who did this accountable for their actions, which may be criminal, and for every penny it costs to return this area to its original beauty." KPBS reporter Susan Murphy has a roundup on the heat wave and what power operators are asking us to do to help conserve energy.
Anywhere you go in San Diego County, it's hot, sticky, and uncomfortable, especially in the East County where temperatures are in the triple digits. That's because of a high pressure system and monsoonal moisture from the Gulf of Mexico hovering over our region. Now, the conditions have caused intense thunderstorms and lightning over the mountains and deserts. Meteorologists report there were more than 550 lightning strikes on Sunday afternoon alone. The hot conditions are expected to last through next week. That has California's electricity grid operators urging people to conserve energy. They've called for another flex alert for Tuesday. The coastal areas and beaches are some of the best spots to find some relief. San Diego County also offers 100 cool zones. You can find more on our website at kpbs.org.
Well, in addition to the excessive heat, there were more than 600 lightning strikes in San Diego Sunday. CAL FIRE says one of those strikes may have sparked a 220-acre brush fire southeast of Julian. It started last night near the community of Vallecito off of Mason Valley Truck Trail. CAL FIRE says no homes or structures are threatened, and more than 500 firefighters and additional resources have been deployed. No word yet on a cause. Another fire northwest of Warner Springs was fully contained yesterday after burning 4 days. It scorched more than 2,000 acres. Governor Jerry Brown is launching a website to document the effects of climate change and respond to those who question it. The governor announced the site today while he was at Lake Tahoe with Nevada's governor. Brown says climate change has drastically altered Lake Tahoe's environment. The Port of San Diego has signed a long-term lease to boost its cargo business at the marine terminal. Amitha Sharma is taking a closer look at the deal.
There's more fruit in the Port of San Diego's future. The port just signed a 24-year lease with Dole Fresh Fruit Company. Some call the deal good business, but there is renewed criticism that it unwisely commits the port to the cargo business at 10th Avenue Marine Terminal, and that this prime piece of real estate could be put to better and more profitable use. Joining me are Eric Bruwald, president of the National University System Institute for Policy Research, and Randa Caniglio, the port's executive vice president. Eric, what does this 24-year deal do for San Diego?
Well, the port plays a critical role, and maritime trade plays a critical role in driving our economy. At the height of their business in 2008, we estimated that the economic impact of those two maritime terminals worth 4.5 Super Bowls every year to San Diego.
There is an argument that the Port of San Diego hasn't quite reached its full potential, and that it's just not as bustling as the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Do you agree with that contention?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those ports are at a different scale than what we have in San Diego, but it's important to realize why. They have really robust rail connections. They have lots of truck traffic in the surrounding neighborhoods. Those are really industrial facilities. 10th Avenue, on the other hand, is in a neighborhood, Barrio Logan, and we have to understand that that puts some constraints on the amount of cargo that we can move through that facility. There's opportunities. Clearly, this is a way in which to further leverage it for those, but we need to understand we're never going to be a Los Angeles and Long Beach, nor I don't think the public really wants to see that kind of industrial activities at the facility.
Are there any steps that the Port of San Diego can take, though, to basically reach that potential closer?
Well, I think the lease that's being signed is one of those steps. If you look at it, one of the things that we're being able to do at that facility is move bananas and fruit, things that are perishable, things that need to get off the ships quickly. Well, Dole's one tenant, but there will be other tenants who can't wait with the kinds of delays they have at Los Angeles and Long Beach, which will look to San Diego because of those improvements that are being made dockside.
Randa, there has been criticism about the length of this lease, that the contention is that the port has essentially locked itself into using 1 million square feet of public land on the bayfront for the next 24 years, and that it limits its flexibility. Why did the port agree to do it for that long?
Well, first I'd like to take the opportunity to clarify something. The lease has been characterized as unprecedented, and it's unprecedented for Dole, but not for the Port of San Diego. We have leases that are up to 66 years long all over port tidelands. So it's just really important to clear that up. Dole had an option to extend the term of their existing lease for 10 years, and we feel we did a lot to keep some really good jobs in San Diego by extending the term of the lease.
What was in it for Dole to sign a 24-year lease? Often businesses, they want the same flexibility, so they don't want to pin themselves down. And there is a belief among some, they don't have the exact numbers, but there's a belief that it was almost a giveaway to Dole. What were the terms of this agreement? What is Dole paying in rent now, and what will it be paying in 24 years? So
last year, our revenues from the Dole lease were around $2 million a year. The new rent is discounted about 10%, so it'll go down to about 1.8 in the first year. So we did what we needed to do to be competitive in today's market and keep Dole here, but more than made up for it in terms of other things and other elements of the lease and the revenues on the backside.
On the backside, meaning in 24 years?
No. We have opportunities to increase the rent in 5 years, and again, I believe every 5 years after that.
There are two thoughts in San Diego regarding the 10th Avenue Marine Terminal. Some people say, look, we need that. We need San Diego to be the global gateway of goods and services. And other people say, look, that land there could be put to better use. Maybe a stadium could be built there. Maybe it could be a public park. Right. Maybe it could be a hotel. And that the length of this lease is simply an attempt to muzzle any kind of public debate on that issue. What is your response?
Well, the Port of San Diego's mission and mandate, in fact, is to do 5 things, but number 1, to promote waterborne commerce. We're using a rare deep water berthing asset to promote waterborne commerce. And you can put a stadium inland. In fact, Mayor Sanders has a plan that they're working on just inland from the 10th Avenue Marine Terminal that we support.
You know, I think it's really important to...
I'm sorry, we've got to wrap it up there. Eric, Randa, thank you so much.
San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station has been offline since January. San Diego County gets 20% of its power from the plant, but Southern California Edison hasn't given a timeline for restarting it. Critics want the nuclear plant shut down permanently as the heat wave tests the county's power grid. We revisit a story we brought you in May. KPBS reporter Allison St. John tells us about a San Diego company looking for a better way to generate nuclear power.
The San Onofre Nuclear Power Station, 50 miles north of San Diego, was built in the 1980s based on technology developed in the 1960s. At the sprawling General Atomics campus in San Diego, Dr. Joan Parmentola says there are better ways to harness nuclear power.
The paradigm that we're advocating is a completely different paradigm on how you would build reactors.
One of the problems with San Onofre is the amount of spent nuclear fuel that is stored on site. Here at General Atomics, they're looking for ways to use nuclear power to generate energy more safely.
And the startling thing that we uncovered was the amount of energy that still exists in the waste at nuclear reactor sites around the country. Well, if you add up all of that energy that's in all that stuff, it's 40 times the oil reserves of Saudi Arabia. It's equivalent to 9 trillion barrels of oil and energy. That's an enormous amount of energy. And of course, it begs the question, can't we do something with it?
General Atomics' answer to this question is EM squared. It's a new kind of reactor that would run on the spent fuel. Christian Deck is on the project team. He's developing a new kind of material to insulate the fuel rods.
And so inside here is a smaller work area where we actually fabricate the composites.
The ceramic cladding or insulation is important because this reactor is not refueled every 18 months like current nuclear power plants. The same fuel rods would stay in the reactor burning for 30 years without ever being removed.
So we need this material to safely contain the fuel throughout the entire life of the reactor under normal and under potential accident conditions.
Dr. Parmentola believes this new insulation could have prevented the hydrogen explosion that happened at Fukushima. And he says after several cycles of burning nuclear fuel, the EM squared reactor would ultimately leave very little waste.
Spent fuel, the radioactivity can last hundreds of thousands of years. The waste that I'm talking about will last hundreds of years.
One big objection to reactors that burn spent nuclear fuel has been the creation of materials that could be turned into bombs. Parmentola says the EM squared would not produce byproducts that would increase the risk of nuclear proliferation.
These neutron-absorbing products have no proliferation value whatsoever. Nobody would want to use them to make a bomb because you can't make a bomb out of them.
Generating energy using nuclear fusion rather than nuclear fission would have fewer dangers. General Atomics does have one of the few prototypes of a fusion tokamak in the world. But in spite of massive investments, that technology is still in its infancy. Bob Schleicher co-invented EM squared.
To make fusion a reality, there still has to be inventions that have not been invented. I think with EM squared, we have all the inventions now that we need, and we just have to do the engineering and do the proof research that confirms our projection, our calculations.
Murray Jennings is a nuclear engineer who used to work at San Onofre. After Fukushima, he regularly took a Geiger counter to the beach in Oceanside.
And I was just checking background radiation levels, and I didn't find anything.
Jennings took a look at General Atomics' plans for EM². He says burning spent fuel would help solve a big safety issue, but he's not convinced it's as safe as General Atomics claims.
This reactor still is subject to meltdowns.
He's worried about the digital controls that GA promises to use on the new design. That's less reliable than analog controls and could be vulnerable to cyber attack.
Anything that solves an old risk with new technology is going to bring in an inherently new risk that we haven't really thought through yet.
When dealing with nuclear power, Jennings says, the technology must be tried and true. The problem with the newly designed steam generators at San Onofre are proving that point. The challenge for General Atomics is to keep generating the billions of dollars it will need to build prototypes to prove that EM² technology is tried and true, cost-effective and safe.
Allison St. John reporting. Some victims of the Mexican drug war are leading a caravan for peace and justice from Tijuana and San Diego all the way to the nation's capital. Amitha Sharma has more on the story.
Mexico's drug war has snuffed out the lives of 60,000 people. Mexican poet Javier Cecilia and other victims in this war have taken to the streets across the border to protest the violence. Now, Mr. Cecilia goes to Washington. He and others are leading a caravan for peace and justice across the United States to the nation's capital. Jose Luis Jimenez, social media and web editor for the KPBS Fronteras desk, and David Shirk of the Trans-Border Institute at USD join me now to talk about the caravan and the drug war. Jose, Javier Cecilia lost his son to the drug violence. What were the circumstances and what role did this event play in his activism?
Yes, his son Juan Francisco was found tortured and killed with 6 other young men in March 2011. And basically, instead of wallowing in his grief, Javier Cecilia decided to start protesting, to start getting active. He basically blamed Felipe Calderon and his war against the drug cartels for his son's death. And from there, he led a protest movement that started in Cuernavaca with about 200 people and ended up in Mexico City at the main square, El Zócalo, with 100,000 people.
What is the purpose of this caravan?
The purpose is they have 5 goals that they have in mind. The first one is ending the war on drugs. They feel it's a failure. Drugs still move back and forth across the border. Arms flow south. It's not working. Second, they call for the legalization of some drugs, especially the minor ones like marijuana. And that will cut down the revenue on the powerful cartels in Mexico and will make them easier to manage. They also move on to the assault weapons. They believe the assault weapons ban should be reinstituted to stop some of these arms that are going down into Mexico and responsible for a lot of deaths down there. Further, they believe money laundering should also be addressed to, again, stop the flow of money to the cartels. And finally, this is something that's been being talked about a lot, especially lately in Mexico, is addressing the drug addiction here in the U.S. This is the main customer base for the cartels. If you take away the drug addicts, if you take away their customers, again, that weakens the cartels.
David, what effect do endeavors like this have on the public debate in the United States? And really, where does this issue rank in the current U.S. presidential election?
Well, Javier Cecilia is very well known in Mexico. He's been in the news for the last year because of his efforts to bring attention to, or to challenge the current strategy for fighting drug cartels in Mexico. But he's virtually unknown, I would say, among most people in the United States. So one important effect will be to sort of raise the level of visibility of the movement to change counter-drug efforts in Mexico here in the United States. On the larger national scale, we are increasingly seeing greater tolerance to the idea of legalization of drugs, for example. In the wake of the recent shootings that we've seen in different parts of the country, I think there's also a certain emphasis on gun control. And so there may be a moment, an opportunity, a watershed at this particular point in time to start thinking about shifting policy, at least on both of those issues. There's been a lot of attention to money laundering as well, particularly with the HSBC scandal. So we may be at a nice moment to rethink some of our strategies and some of the priorities in the war on drugs.
I want to talk about that a little bit deeper. First of all, participants in the caravan have been very critical about U.S. policies on these very issues. They say, look, prohibition only enriches the drug traffickers, and that laundered drug money and weapons continue to flow into Mexico unabated. Are U.S. authorities doing all they can to stop this? And are U.S. banks doing all they can to stop laundering the drug profits?
I think most U.S. financial institutions are reasonably compliant with U.S. Standards and laws. There are people within those organizations who obviously turn to the dark side. I think the question of whether we're doing all we can, we're putting a significant percentage of our population behind bars because they traffic in or use drugs. We are seizing $400 million worth of marijuana at the U.S.-Mexico border every year and about the same amount in cocaine. We're doing an awful lot to try to address the problem, but even so, the net effect on drug use in the United States is minimal. And so I think that we're doing everything we can using the current strategy, and the critique of folks like Javier Cecilia is that it's not really having much impact. And so rethinking how we deal with the problem of drug use, which is largely a medical and psychological problem for a lot of users, is really what we need to start thinking about.
David Shirk, Jose, thank you so much for speaking to us today.
E-books and interactive games are just two ways teachers can use technology in the classrooms this fall. Today, a group of San Diego teachers learned about some high-tech solutions during Innovation Day at the County Office of Education. That's where companies like Google and Benchmark Education demonstrated their products.
So the technology is working. I'm telling you, it's something that everybody should really start looking at. How do we look at the situation that these kids will pay more attention to something that gives them immediate feedback on whether I'm right or wrong, and will challenge me to the next level.
About 300 San Diego teachers and administrators took part in Innovation Day. Conservation groups want the federal government to list Pacific great white sharks as an endangered species. They say the shark's west coast population is different from anywhere else. New research shows there may only be a few hundred left. White sharks are threatened by chemical contaminants as well as fishing nets, where more than 10 young sharks are caught each year. The endangered species status would help improve habitat protection and more funding for research.
Tonight in the public square, repairs to Balboa Park's famed lily pond could cost up to $10,000. The lily pond took a thrashing this weekend after a water gun fight brought in 1,500 people. Floating Victorian lilies were smashed, new landscaping was ruined, but the fish and turtles were left unharmed. San Diego Mayor Jerry Sanders called the vandalism appalling. The nonprofit group Friends of Balboa Park is taking donations to fix the pond, but many of you think the culprit should cover those costs. Fraga Kuda on Twitter wrote, "For shame, San Diegans. Participants, get your wallets out and fix the lily pad pond." Barry Braden also on Twitter wrote, "All who took part in the water gun fight in the lily pond at Balboa Park last night should do the honorable thing and pay for the damage caused." And Venus Lumayag tweeted, "I hate having to go into work tomorrow and see the lily pond damages firsthand. Those who were there that night should pitch in to help." Police have opened an investigation into the vandalism, but there are no arrests yet. You can weigh in on the conversation by following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, and of course, you can email us.
Recapping tonight's top stories, 3 Marines killed by an Afghan police officer Friday were from Camp Pendleton. Captain Matthew Manicuan and Staff Sergeant Sky Moat were from Northern and Central California, and Gunnery Sergeant Ryan Jeske was from Virginia. They all were assigned to the Special Operations Battalion at Camp Pendleton. An Afghan police officer reportedly shot the Marines after inviting them to a pre-dawn meal. Two new fires were sparked by lightning in San Diego's East County. It happened Sunday, northeast of Julian. CAL FIRE says no homes or structures are threatened at this time after a spate of fires in the Felicito area. So far, more than 220 acres have burned, and about 500 firefighters and 6 aircraft are working to contain it. The excessive heat has California's power grid operators urging folks to conserve energy. They've called another flex alert for tomorrow, asking people to set the AC at 78 degrees. You can also escape the heat at more than 100 cool zones at libraries and community centers around San Diego. For cool zone locations, go to coolzones.org. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. You have a great night.